First of all, maybe I would like to thank you for coming to our session, and then I was thinking about the global trends and changes, and there are so many actually that the choice wasn't easy. So I decided to make just a few of them, and definitely it looks like the quality and effectiveness in all of the streams of mission, I mean education, science, and third mission, it is something that is crucial for the development of the sector. And there is an open question how we are doing, because looking from Polish perspective, from the first discussion panel here, we can assess what was, let's say, to correct and what was important from the view of Polish universities. But effectively, we are cooperating and competing globally, so we must take into account several global tendencies here. And actually, I look into your data in the presentation, and it looks like that. It depends with whom we are making comparison. If we are comparing with the leading 100, doesn't matter if it's ranking of Times Higher Education or ranking of ARWU, right? Doesn't matter. It looks like the top leading 100 university is going faster than us, in meaning of scientific development, in meaning of the admission, introduction. With the education, it's tougher to measure, obviously. But if we compare to 1,000 that is in the ranking, we are going faster than average. So our relative position must be also measured relatively to the strategic objectives, KPIs, and definitely about the budgets. Taking into account the discussion from the first session, lowering the budgets from the last, comparing the last few years, we are keeping the effectiveness at a bit higher level than it used to be before introduction of the law 2.0. So quality and effectiveness in science and education, this is first pillar. Second one, it is internationalization, quite obvious one. And if we are look at the Scopus data, we see the growth. We see the growth and the internationalization in this aspect of science, which is actually the most important because it's measurable, accountable, it's going on. If we look at the education, we can say, okay, in Poland we have several new international accreditations, growing number of the international students, and the very slowly growing percentage or numbers of the international academicians that are in our university. That tendency actually connected to the admission of the university is the cooperation with business, with the environment, and here there is an area of concern. It's tough to find precisely measures of that, comparing Poland to global higher education market. But for example, if we look at the indexes like Global Innovation Index, Poland just during last year dropped from the position 86, that wasn't great, to the position 94, and this is not the level of the satisfaction that we would like to see. This is not a 2,000 leading universities in a Times ranking, and we are in a place like 300, 400 for leading university. We wish to be higher, but in this Global Innovation Index, we are definitely too low, taking into account 150 countries that are in this ranking. And the last but not least, sustainability and responsibility of the university. Here, kind of the measure that we can take is the impact ranking of Times Higher Education, and at least we can say the strategic reflection about the sustainable development begin to more present, because we have the significant growth last 2 years in the number of the universities that are choosing sustainable development goals into their strategy, and they're trying to treat it like a priority with their development. So after this introduction, I would like to ask the question to my guest. I will begin with these most problematic issues. Professor Jarosław Górniak from Jagiellonian University. I would like to ask about the possible models of the entrepreneurship, but also intrapreneurship inside of our university that should be developed with the universities. And at the same time, what can be the strategy for the admission for university? We can perceive it also from both global and Polish perspective. Please.
You want me to start?
Yep.
Okay. So I prepared small presentation. I present, but who could start it?
How about? It's going on?
Push the green button.
Button.
Oh no, sorry. Elsevier will begin first. Sorry, it's my fault. So Shadi is first one. Sorry.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So it was more about the global perspectives on the transformation of higher education in Poland. There's a lot to speak about when it comes to the internationalization. And I'm sure there'll be questions later on where we can speak a little bit more about this. But I wanted to take a look at Scopus data right now in terms of the international aspects and what that has in terms of quality impact on the quality of the production of research that's coming out of Poland. So one of the things here, and we can explain a little bit more later on about this, but I'm taking a look at the field-weighted citation impact at the 75th percentile. So if we look at all the publications within a university, what is the value of the field-weighted citation impact at that 75th percentile? And what's the impact of international collaboration on that? So the idea here is the x-axis is the collaboration, the percentage of collaboration in the outputs of the universities with international partners. And then the y-axis is the field-weighted, so the quality impact of those papers. And you can clearly see the trend there. The more you have with international collaboration, the higher the impact of your publications as well. The red dots represent the Polish universities in the ranking. So you can see they're on that trend, sort of in the middle of the pack. Another way to look at that is from how many papers they have within the top 10% worldwide top papers within the world. This is also based on the field-weighted citation impact, and it's normalized by year, by subject, by staff numbers. So if we take a look at that trend, also the x-axis is the international collaboration, the y-axis is the number of publications within that top 10%. Also, again, you see there is a correlation there, and Poland, again, is on the trend line, but sort of in the middle of the pack. The message here is the international collaboration does have a positive impact, and the need there for developing further with the international collaboration that the universities do within Poland. And another way of looking at that is the mean field-weighted citation impact, so not the 75th percentile, but the mean, also looking at it from different angles to make sure that the correlation stands and that it makes sense. Again, you're seeing there is that positive influence of international collaboration on the quality of the publications that you have. Where does Poland stand in that compared to the rest of the EU? This one is one of my favorite heat maps, I would say. It's the probabilistic affinity index, so it's the probability of working together with other countries on international collaboration. And where does Poland fit in there is sort of, it's highlighted there in the red. The top left box is the EU 13 or the EU 2014. I can't see. I can't read it from here. It's the countries that joined the EU after 2014. What you're seeing here is that there's a lot of collaboration happening between those countries versus the rest of Europe. And when you're looking at the rest of Europe also has a very low probabilistic affinity index for collaboration. That's because they're even going outside of Europe. They're going to the US, to the UK, to the US, to Australia, to Canada, and to China and Japan. But you see a lot of the collaboration when it's international within this bloc is that it's contained within that group of countries that joined the EU after 2014. Even when I'm looking at that, Poland has a very low affinity index in there within the group itself. So there's a lot of, I would say, area for that to grow in order to motivate and incentivize international collaboration, which then tells me that there's a lot more possibilities for that international collaboration to have impact on the quality of publications coming out of Poland. Another way to look at that is through this map. Again, you can see it, the red and the blue groups there. You see that there's a lot of tight collaboration that's happening within the group that joined after 2014. So expanding beyond that group is something I would say as a goal that we would have in order to increase the impact from a quality perspective. The last thing I want to mention, and this will just take me half a minute, is on the SDGs, so social impact. Where does Poland focus right now? You can see in terms of numbers, the highest one is on SDG 3, but when I compare that to the rest of the world, the number is still on average below what you're expecting from other countries of similar size. So there's a lot of potential for growth and improvement there. The left-hand side, so the right-hand columns, the gray is the numbers, the quantity, relative to the rest of the countries and where they are. 1.0 is the global average, that second line. On the left-hand side of that column is the quality, the field weighted. So not necessarily where they publish the most is where you have the highest impact. There are a lot of SDGs that could be worked upon, that could be used within that impact, that social impact, to be able to develop further relationships, to be able to develop further social impact from the universities onto society itself, to help improve that quality index that's coming out of Poland. And I'll stop there.
Okay, thank you very much. It was introduction based on the data where we can see the relative change of the position of the Polish science, but also these SDGs. So let's say sustainability and responsibility area. Thank you very much. It's a good base for the discussion. And I would like to ask Professor Jarosław Górniak to present the part connected to the that mission. I mean, cooperation of Polish universities with business, please.
I've been asked to say some words about cooperation between business and academia. And first of all, about the barriers of university-business cooperation. It was the question I obtained via email from my friend, Professor Sułkowski. And you know, there are many of them, and there are many elaborations related to this issue, but I would like to stress at first three really important ones, I think. The first one is a really objective one. University research is concentrated at the early technology readiness level, and there are permanent problems with financing of proof of concepts we have. In our system of financing research, we have a very well-known gap. There is a lot of money for the last stages. There is few, not as much money for very early stage, for the zero level, we can say, for basic, the fundamental research. But there is a problem with the middle stages. So here is something to solve, but I mean, in our academic culture, there is strong tendency to develop, especially in the area of fundamental research. Then in Poland, firms, it's not only Polish phenomenon, but in Poland we can observe this very heavily, that firms are not ready to take risks of further development of inventions and prefer investments in proved technologies. You know, it is visible even in the United States, which is a very innovative academic system, where if you look at what is the share of investments of private sector into research and development and the state. So the state has a huge stake, I mean 68% if I remember well, in financing basic research, where private firms are almost not visible. And the reverse situation is in financing the development research, these final stages of readiness and commercialization of innovations. And what we have to also to take into consideration is a lack of trust. It's still, there is a still distance between commercial sector and academic sector, and here is a lot to do, and the work with culture is always hard work. There are still existing barriers in academic system. As you know, there is a real gap in our recent act of higher education and science. We have no well-defined path of academic career based on research and development cooperation with business, which is connected with possible restriction in publications. So business is not very much interested in publications from the area which is newly developed technology because of the competition issues. So if you would like to have really part of the universities which would be devoted to cooperation with business, selling also services, research services to business, we have to count, we have to have people who will be not punished for their null publication record. And we had such situations in special units at the university where the units had a very good turnover from services to business, but there were simply reports owned by the business and not publications. So we had to change the position of these people to administrative ones to avoid punishment by the evaluation. So we have no system in this area, really. Wrong model of state support for research and development concentrated in donating commercial activities of firms instead of academic research and university business cooperation, which is visible if you look at the business of NCBR for R&D for firms versus academic institutions. There are billions of zlotys for firms, for private firms to support their innovations. And if you compare the budget with the budget which is dedicated to universities, is again the situation totally different than in the United States, which is a kind of masterpiece for us, yes? For example, I've read it, the famous book of Matsukato, Entrepreneurial State, that, for example, the National Institute of Health, a very important American institution financing medical research, 80% of the budget spent for, as she writes, more than 3,000 for the 3,000 universities which are spread around the United States. So this is these are the subjects dedicated for the federal financing. The firms, what have firms? Firms have the special kind of pre-commercial procurements for innovative solutions, and there was an intention to translate them to European Union, but without much success. This is not only the Polish problem, because this mode of financing research is typical for Europe, and we can ask ourselves why we have problems with so-called European phenomenon, that we have very good publications, but no transfer of innovations to the business. And part of the answer is in this issue. This is lobbying of even at the European community level by the firms to have access to public money for financing internal spendings of firms. And this is not, as we can look at Korea or the United States, this is not the good solution. And academic culture is strongly oriented towards prestige of fundamental research, free of practical application and separated from business. You know, as a leader of National Congress of Science, I had too many discussions with professors, especially from humanities, interesting, who criticized very much any attempts to build framework for cooperation with business, with very strong words about colonization of science via business and different similar words. We have also the problem with our academic culture, we have to say. There is no prestige for making big money for the university. It is better to publish something nice. You agree, perhaps. This is really a kind of structural problem we have. And what I prepared, quality of research staff and its inability to work in business project regimes. Of course, there are differences, and I will not elaborate on it, but there is a difference. Everybody who worked for business knows that there are differences with working for deliverables on time and having always the possibility to write to the National Research Center for the to prolong the terms of grant. What models of academic entrepreneurs should be developed by universities, and what types of industry academic partnership are most effective in today's academic landscape?
Maybe we can stop for a moment and return back to the questions.
Okay.
Is it okay?
It's totally okay.
Okay, because I can put the let's say first round of the questions. I try to split these four areas in between of our presenters, and Magda is the area of the sustainability and the responsibility. Actually, when I'm listening of Jarek, this is like that. These people from humanities, social sciences, they are saying, okay, like Milton Friedman, the business of business is business, right? The business of academia is education and science, dot. And this is not the reality, yes? Being in a time of the entrepreneurial university and digital university, of course we are not an ivory tower, but at the same point, let's say, asking the question, why we need these next trends to do, yeah? We have three streams of mission: traditional, education and science, always, plus the admission, let's say, from the 20th century. Why we are talking about the sustainability and responsibility of the university? Isn't it obvious that ethics, good work, it's present with our profession? So actually my question is, what role do universities play in addressing global sustainability challenges? Magda, please.
Thank you. Well, I guess the simple answer would be a very important role. Let's start with the fact that there are 35,000 universities in the world. And so naturally, those universities play a significant role in contributing to our global economy. And then, of course, as you've mentioned already, an obvious one is education and research. But universities don't just educate and, provide and conduct impactful research. They actually influence policy on local, national, and international level. On a daily basis, we see institutions around the world lobbying for change, informing policymakers and public about the challenges, but also the urgency of dealing with sustainable development goals. And I think on top of all of that, something that's still not known enough is the work that universities do in the local communities. I think very often universities are still seen as these big, grand, beautiful buildings that are only open for the rich and intelligent. But actually, at Times Higher Education, we collect thousands and thousands of pieces of evidence which demonstrate the work that universities do in the local communities. And we know that those institutions are not only educating communities, but they are actually supporting them and supporting the growth of those communities all around. And I think finally, I just wanted to mention that we can see also through the work that we are doing with governments around the world, that it is governments themselves that are seeing that education, and higher education particularly, plays a key role in supporting the governments with improving and contributing to the Sustainable Development Goals. Just to give you an example, we have been commissioned by the Ministry of Science and Research in Thailand recently, and we're working with 35 of their institutions because the Thai government is absolutely sure that the only way they can improve the Thai's economy is by incorporating and working together with those universities. Another great example is recently in the UK, we have been asked by the UK government to organize a Green Skills Conference. And they were very, very clear that higher education is playing an incredibly important role in making UK's economy a green one. And they wanted us to bring together businesses, higher education, policymakers, students. And it was a huge, huge conference, a really great success. And again, showcasing that higher education is an important part of those conversations. So to answer your question, I think higher education plays a very significant role, and I think the impact that they have goes beyond the campus. I think, they influence common communities and individuals across the world.
Thank you very much. Actually, returning back to this, let's say, core of the traditional mission, taking these two streams into account, we may ask the question, what are the strategies, models, metrics, best practices that we can use for strengthen this area? And actually, we know about one of them, which is money. Yeah, if we have lower budgets and not enough funds, it correlates with quality and effectiveness, with productivity of the scientists. We know that the publications that are in top journals, they cost. Yeah, and I'm not saying only about the open access. I'm just saying mainly about the research process, collaboration, international teams, and things that needs to have this support. But above that, what we can do, Shadi, what kind of the learning exercise we can take from the group of the leading universities, splitting that, this is huge area, yeah, but splitting that, first of all, in the area of science, how to upgrade the quality and effectiveness of teaching, of research, and then to the area of the education, which is, as we know, even trickier one to measure, right? Please.
That probably would take me 6 hours to talk about. Science and education. So I'll use two hats. For the science, I'll use my Elsevier hat, and for education, I'll use my personal life hat and the work that I'm doing back home in Jordan. So from a scientific perspective, I think it's about making sure you're maximizing the return on investment. So when I pay $1 for research, I want to make sure I'm getting as much as I can out of that $1 that I'm spending, and making sure I'm spending the right resources on the right place for the right time for the right reason to create the knowledge that I'm trying to create here. And creating new knowledge is not cheap because it's new knowledge. So it takes dedication, it takes resources and time. But I think developing, and that's something that we're doing at Elsevier now, is developing an academic evaluation framework, not just about the research itself, but about the whole academic process. So it talks about the resources that you need in order to develop new knowledge. It talks about the teaching aspect that you're doing with the undergraduate students. It talks about the throughput from the research perspective into what goes into the process of research. The outputs, which we all are the things that we usually take a look at, the publications, the citations, and so on. And then finally, the impact, where you have the economic impact, the societal impact, the sustainability development goals, all of those are playing a role. So within each of these columns, you have different metrics that we're developing, and not all of them are available. So it's a discovery. There's also research being done on Elsevier's side to make sure, are we looking at the right things that are guiding us into a stronger future where we can make sure or minimize the risks and maximize the potential that we can get out of that process. So that's from the research perspective. From the educational perspective, and this goes into K-12, so you're talking about students, university students, school students, and I think there's a three-pillared approach to that we're developing in a country like Jordan, which is a very small country, very limited resources. We don't have the money, we don't have oil either, so we have absolutely nothing. So what can we do? We have to look at it from three different parts. We're looking at it from a infrastructure perspective. So what infrastructures do we have in place, and what support can we get from different countries to help build the strong infrastructure within the educational system? Also looking at the approach that we're doing within the universities from an entrepreneurial perspective, trying to bring that entrepreneurship into the whole development program within the universities. And then finally, the building up of the human capacity angle. That is the #1 resource we have in a country like Jordan, is that human capacity. And so developing the right soft skills, developing the right creativity and curiosity and ingenuity to be able to take a look at the infrastructure that we have available, the entrepreneurship within the university education system, and trying to take that into building new innovations. And so being able to create an economy that is based on new ideas, taking the ideas that are already developed out there in the market and developing new ones based on those. So from the basic to development, applied research, developmental research, and innovation at the end of the day.
Thank you very much. From these answers, we can obviously see that there is a strong interconnection into these three streams of mission. If I may ask you, Jarek, what models of academic entrepreneurship or intrapreneurship from the perspective of the inside of the university could be developed by university? What we can do also beside of the getting the higher funds, and but what we can do in meaning of the legal changes, in meaning of the organizational changes to leverage this entrepreneurship?
I know that I will not satisfy you, because I don't think that speaking about academic entrepreneurship is a very good setting of the topic. People go to the university not for being the entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship and innovations are notions from business area. And there is a place in business for entrepreneurship and innovations. In the universities, research, discoveries, and inventions. And they should be useful. And we can also very strongly, we should very strongly cooperate with business, servicing business with our good research, servicing with our knowledge, being instrumental to business. Business should support science financially, not reversed, which is sometimes expected. I would like to illustrate something about this activity, which I think is important for our high school. Let's look, because it's not too easy to find data for the whole country. I have data for my university, which shows that something happened in the recent years. You see here the number of patents and patents applications submitted to Polish and international patent institutions, and you see how we started. The first year it's 2007 with 2 patents in international institutions, and then you have many more. And the Jagiellonian University, which is classical university, very old one, so very old. Being old in the area of innovation is not good. But we are the best patenting university in Poland. What happened? We are not technical university. We have no one technical department. Our patents are from especially life science, physics, chemistry. These are these areas where we obtain the patents, and sometimes even very interesting, very technical ones, like new batteries, much better suitable to recycling, because produced from some plants, and we will see. Oh, not easy way to business. Business is quite reluctant. They say if we had the final buyer, so we could produce the batteries, yes, and invest in further development. So we'll see what happens with these inventions. Patents is something which is ready to be a base for innovations, but there are always much more inventions around than there are real innovations on the market. And what kind of modes of cooperation? So I would say no, then the entrepreneurship, university entrepreneurship, the modes of cooperation between business and academia. I have the source you see, I have the table, but I would like to concentrate on the top of the table. I mean, I also did some research at our university with people responsible for commercialization of research. Research partnership, where firm and the university team collaborate in discovery of new ideas, is the best mode of cooperation and brings the most successful results. This is typical because it is in newly emerging technology areas, and not like IP transfer, which is what you already have on your table, yes, or research services, where actually the firms from mature mature sectors simply order some research from university. The cooperation is really, the partnership is really something good. And I have here examples of successful cooperation from Jagiellonian University, which brought really also some finances, because you know it's not easy to make money on cooperation with business. I've read in a quite interesting book that only 20 American universities make real money on this cooperation, transfer of technologies. It's not many, given that more than 3,000 of universities in the country. Very innovative one. We have cooperation with universities with CHDE in commercializing and ongoing development of nanocapsules. And you know, it's interesting because because it's foreign firm. Then licensing of the third one, licensing of the intellectual property rights for pharmaceutical inventions to the small US firm at the early stage of development. The firm was able to find investors for further development. Why not the Polish firm? Because sometimes we say Polish firms are not big enough. He was a small American firm, but with different innovation culture. They were able to find investors, and they pay us. We have nice money from the corporation. They have also consulting agreement with the university. They cooperate further with the research team. It is really based on this real cooperation. And we have one startup, which is more entrepreneurship, which is one doctoral student who created with 3 colleagues the startup. Now she's already the doctor, and from the Faculty of Biotechnology, and it was supported by the university, supported in the development, in the approach to the business and so on. And now university has annual income from partnership, and the faculty has also from utilization of the research infrastructure. So it's very well based on agreement. So in every of these 3 cases, you have the real cooperation between university and business. One is really the startup, which is still cooperating with the university. And conclusions, if you allow me for these few points. Yeah, please. More state funds for research, but wisely allocated. A legal framework facilitating business commitment in financing academic research. Long-term investment in talent recruitment and employment in universities. National Research Center protect the mode of its functioning, because we still have the minister who wanted to dissolve this, perhaps the most wonderful institution we have for financing of our research. So protect National Research Center, protect the mode of its functioning by including into the mission non-commercial projects up to the 4th or 5th technology readiness level to cover the gap. And state financial motivation for business academia cooperation. So this is what we have to have. Something like, for example, Israel used to have for years, shekel for shekel. If you earn shekel from the business, the state will give the university another shekel. Yes. If you earn 1 million zlotys from the business, another million you will obtain from the state. It really changed the minds of Israeli academics. I would say it would even make a kind of new attitude among even these old humanists who criticize so much the cooperation between university and business. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Actually, this is also information. We need more evidence-based management. These are great cases that we can show on the case of the leading university that patent rights are going up. Yes, so probably we should ask the question: why in this global innovation index, where the crucial factor are patent rights, we are going down as a country? So probably not. Majority of the Polish higher education institution is doing such a good job. Probably there are problems in the other sectors of the economy, but yeah, or methodology of index. This is also the issue. Yeah, we are dealing with problems of the methodologies in measuring. Always emphasize something and can hide something. We know that. In many of these changes, and the many years actually, we have area of the internationalization. That is a crucial one, and obviously we need to increase it, both in science and in the education. So, Shadi, for you the question is, on the basis of your data that you are using from Elsevier, from Scopus, in what way, on the micro-meso perspective of the one university or macro perspective of the country, we can foster this process, we can make it more effective, better?
Internationalization and digitalization. I think those are the two that we really need to focus on in terms of trying to take it to the next level. The universities themselves, I mean, and we're always there to help support them, identify potential partners globally in terms of universities who to work with. Digitalization, the right type of digitalization. Just having a website does not mean just being online is not enough. You need to be online, you need to be discoverable. People need to be able to find you easily. You have a lot of knowledge to share, but just putting it into a box online does not mean that you're sharing it. You have to have the right platform and where to share and how to present that to the world, for the world to see the amazing things that are coming out of your university. And this is on an institutional level or a national level. We've worked with governments, we've worked with universities. How do I help build bridges with other universities? How do I help build bridges with other countries? Understanding your strengths and understanding what you are bringing to the global market, and then using that to develop relationships with other universities and other countries is, I think, an area that can potentially bring a lot more return on investment for the universities and the country as well at the same time.
Thank you. So the part of the answer here is just fostering the cooperation, right? Thank you. Magda, I would like to ask you about the possible methods, sustainability initiatives, and the cases of that. And then how we can effectively measure and report this process of the sustainability, because it looks like a very soft area, right? Cultural one, attitudes, and then we are trying to find the measures here. So could you give us the examples from higher education institutions?
Well, I guess if we ask what's the golden way of measuring and reporting sustainable development goals, the United Nations, as part of the 2030 agenda, have set governments, but also organizations underneath them, to conduct independent reviews, and that includes universities. So they've basically asked institutions to evaluate the activities that they are running within their own institutions. Of course, this golden way doesn't come with any disadvantages. Apart from the fact that, you know, if institutions are creating their own metrics, it makes it much harder for benchmarking. So it makes it difficult to compare yourself to others and understand, you know, how you can improve. But also, it takes a lot of time. Would anyone like to have a guess in the audience on the panel how many institutions out of those 35,000 plus have conducted this independent review as stated by United Nations?
1% maybe.
1%? 4 universities. You know, it is time consuming to follow, I guess, that, and this is why we have created the impact rankings. You know, as you know, the United Nations Development Goals were not necessarily created directly for universities, and so THE has found a way in which we can interpret those goals. And through Theory of Change, we have adopted them, and we have our own metrics which allow universities to submit data to. And we essentially measure the research that universities are conducting. We look at stewardship, so we want to know how universities are looking after the resources, not just physical, but how are you looking after the students, how are you looking after the students' families. And then we also look at the work that you do in communities, and we evaluate that. And finally, obviously, the teaching part. So we look at the teaching that you deliver. And of course, there isn't, you know, I guess, the perfect way of measuring anything, but this is free. It's easier to kind of submit the data, and it allows institutions to benchmark themselves against others, and more importantly, to showcase the work that they're doing, because I think when it comes to sustainability, we all have something to learn from each other, and it's very important that we share what we do, share best practice as much as possible, and yeah, continue to develop.
Thank you very much. So just 1 minute at the end. I bring to the table quality and effectiveness in science education, internationalization, sustainability, and the admission. What else can be important that I haven't thought? Do you have any, just a hints, what can be important trend in the global development of the higher education institutions? Shadi, maybe.
As related to Poland, I think one of the interesting insights that I found out as I was doing my research is the mobility of the researchers in Poland, the mobilization. The vast majority of researchers in Poland do not go outside of Poland during their careers. That's a very small number relative to other countries. So I think that's one area, I think that's very interesting to help build that cooperation and fostering that collaboration internationally, is getting your researchers out there into the world to build those relationships and collaboration with other countries. So I think the mobility of researchers in and out of the country, giving them experiences outside, I think that's one area that might be interesting to look into.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Actually, you bring in your presentation also digitalization of the university. So two new trends. Magda.
I guess maybe it's related to something I was talking about, which is sustainability, but it is definitely a trend that we've conducted a huge global survey of students, and one of the key reasons of why those students were choosing a specific institution was to do with the work that those institutions were doing in the area of sustainability. So it is a global trend of students that we're seeing, that they find that important and that they want to know that you are doing this work. And so I guess it very much links to internationalization as well. And you know, if you want to attract international students, you need to show the work that you're doing around sustainability.
Okay, thank you very much. And the final voice for my friend Jarek.
I mean, this is what will create real competitiveness of the countries and universities in the countries which will be competitive. It will be the further, more in-depth integration of students into research process. Both basic research and applied research, including implementation research. And if we look what happens with artificial intelligence and all this stuff, so this the only way to avoid a kind of diminishing impact of these new technologies on academic world. So simply we have to build university again. What is university? Is the community of researchers and students. It was from the beginning and it should be again.
Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you very much to our panelists. We covered very wide area actually, but maybe it's a food for thought. What can be important for Polish higher education institution to see that transformation, not only from the, let's say, local Polish perspective, but also looking for the data outside. Thank you very much.